Welcome to The Favorites, the podcast presented by Bet365. We are part of the Action Network. I am Chad Millman, Chief Content Officer of the Action Network. We have reached the peak of summer. Hopefully, everyone is going into a July 4th holiday weekend. You can bring us along with you for your listening pleasure. It is part two of our annual summer mailbag episodes where we answer your burning questions right here on the show. Simon doesn't know this yet, but I'm changing an answer from the previous mailbag episode. Joining me is my co-host, my companion, my compadre, my BFF, professional bettor, Simon Hunter. Hello, Simon.
Hello, Chad. The true dog days of summer. It's in the Northeast. We can't even go outside anymore. It's so humid and hot. And basically all I'm doing is just enjoying football, right? Just getting ready for the season. So yeah, this next month is the last real push, right, Chad? It's the last slow days, and then it just starts speeding up.
It's like 3 weeks until training camp starts, and
Crazy.
it is on us in a snap.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, we're going to have to start making choices. Are we watching pennant race potential winning games in baseball, or are we watching a Thursday night preseason game between the Panthers and the Cardinals to see if we can get anything learned
The Bears
about
got the Hall of Fame game, right?
That's right.
I mean,
And
come
look,
on.
hey, listen, I'm a huge Hall of Fame game guy. I think everybody knows at this point. One of my first ever assignments when I was a 19-year-old intern at Pro Football Weekly was convincing them to let me go to Canton to write a story for Pro Football Weekly about the Hall of Fame and the inductions into the Hall of Fame. I have a very, very special spot in my heart for the Hall of Fame.
Maybe you should go for the first Williams game.
Um, yeah, I'll be out of town. As a reminder, the Favorites podcast is presented by Bet365. Bet365 doesn't do ordinary. That's why you get more boosts with them than with anyone else. Every day they put out the odds on hundreds of bets to give you a chance to win more. Bet365 boosts specific markets, your winnings, and even parlays. And they don't stop there. Keep an eye out for their biggest and best odds with the incredible Super Boost. Check out the boost and see why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older and present in Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Iowa, Louisiana, North Carolina, New Jersey, Ohio, Virginia, or 18 and older in Kentucky. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa. Terms, conditions, restrictions apply. Reminder, every episode of The Favorites is live on YouTube. For those enjoying on YouTube, don't forget to give us a like and subscribe to the Action Network YouTube page. In our previous mailbag, Simon, someone asked about advice. And you know what? We always get questions about advice, career advice, life advice, whatever it is. And we both sort of landed on something that I feel like is the same answer everybody gives, which is take risks, don't be afraid, things will work out. I'm 1,000 years older than you. I can look back and be like, oh my God, I should have taken even more risks. And like nothing I did before I turned 30 mattered. And I was way too focused on being perfect and trying to get every job and the next job in the ladder and doing those jobs well and like missing out on other opportunities that might have been as much fun or led to different or just as interesting a career. But the answer is, I thought about this when I was walking the dog after we answered that. It's the fucking people. The number of people I know who have taken calculated risks on jobs and then ended up in a trap working with the shittiest people, I can count on 1,000 fingers. And every single person I talk to who is my age will now tell you the most important factor when thinking about who you're going to spend your time with, and this is really focused on career, it's about the people. Like, you can't even work at a great place if the people you're working with you can't stand, if they're bad people, if they're political, if they're backstabbing, whatever. Um, but I got that sort of, someone mentioned that to me and I'm like, oh yeah, that totally makes sense.
No, it's probably number one, right? Like
It is.
I think most people in life would take less money if they knew they'd be working with people that didn't make them just dread every day of their existence because they're having to deal with this person. So I'm right there with you, Chad. I've worked some horrible jobs with some horrible people that, yeah, like there's nothing worse than that, right? Because then you can't sleep to Sunday night because you know you're about to spend all day Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday with this person. So no, it's a great answer.
I remember I had gone away on a trip with my wife like in 2000. We were barely married. And we were coming back, and I was working at ESPN, the magazine, and I was working for someone I really couldn't stand who had made my life miserable, truly miserable. And we're in a cab, we're leaving LaGuardia on the highway, going over the then Triborough Bridge. And I'm like, I can't go back. And this was a dream job, right? Like
Yeah.
I had gone from SI to ESPN, the magazine. I was covering the NFL. It's all I wanted
Oh
to
God, what a
do.
great day though. You just said that day where you get to leave that job. Oh
I'm like,
God, what a great day.
I can't go back. And my wife says, what do you mean? I go, I can't work for this person anymore. I hate them. They are terrible. And within a month, I found a new job, and that company cratered, and I ended up uh, going back. That was actually right when I was about to write the odds, the sports betting book. Got the deal to write the book. Wanted to go write the book. ESPN and this boss would not give me the support to go write the book. So I found a new job so I could write the book while I was doing that job and quit that job. And then I went back to ESPN, and it all worked out great. And that person was no longer there, by the way. So yeah, it's the people. People. Speaking of which, Bill Walton passed away a few weeks ago, about 6 weeks ago. This is a great question. It feels like there are not enough truly great color and play-by-play broadcasters for how much live sports we watch now. Who are some of your favorites left? Favorites of all time?
That's gonna be tough because I honestly watch about 99% of sport events with mute on. I'm just one of those people. Either I'm talking to people, I got music going, and football, it's even worse. I mean, like I just can't do it unless I'm at a party with a bunch of people. Then I'll listen to it. At the, if I'm with people, of course I'll listen to it. But yeah, for me, this is gonna be a cop out. The only thing I listen to, my favorite commentary, it's soccer. Like just hearing the British or Scottish or Irish accent talking about soccer, I just love it, and it just they do it a different style than Americans as well. So that's a cop out answer. I'm trying to think my favorite American. I mean, it's depressing when the few people that make me laugh and I feel like they provide some knowledge, but I like to talk shit about them because it's fun. It's Tony Romo. Like Tony Romo is turned into this drunk uncle at the party. He's I don't know, Jim. I don't know if he's gonna do this. Like even the Super Bowl, he wouldn't shut the fuck up in the most important final play of the game. Like he's talking over him when he's trying to make the most important call of the game, or Mahomes about to walk off. Like I don't know, it's fun. Like Tony Romo, he's the perfect type of he really cares, and it feels like he's out partying all night and he lost his voice the night before he does a game. Like he's just a really fun balance to me. So yeah, I can't believe it, but of all the people that crack me up, Tony Romo might be number one in sports right now.
So this is a very specific answer, and I think people who are Bulls fans or from Chicago uh, will appreciate this. But the Bulls have been very lucky in that they have had really great broadcasters over the years. During the Michael Jordan years, Jim Durham and Johnny Red Kerr were amazing. And you would watch a game with Johnny Red Kerr, who was an old time Bulls player, and it was the best of Homerism. It was the best of inside basketball. You just fucking loved it. And I feel like Stacey King is the greatest sort of he carries on that legacy of Johnny Red Kerr as he is so funny. His gimmicks are so perfect. He will sing a commercial like they've
Yeah.
got a guy who advertises for insurance in every game, and he will sing the jingle. His phrases are awesome. He loves the Bulls. And also, he's a mountain of a man. And the Bulls play-by-play is Adam Amin. And when they go to the table of them together for their shots, before the quarter, it's it's like an elephant and a mouse. And they are fantastic together. And then so interesting to look at as two diametrically opposed size human beings. Love, love, love listening to them do Bulls games. They are amazing at their jobs. So that would be one. I also mentioned favorite of all time, Johnny Red Kerr. Look, I'm going to go way homer on this. I grew up with Harry Carey in the Cubs games. So
Yeah.
like coming home after school for day games with Harry Carey, it's like story time every day. And so, in fact, I loved Harry Carey so much. When I left Sports Illustrated, they had this great library of clips and photos that you could access if you were doing research on a story or fact checking a story. Again, this is like when they had librarians, 3 or 4 librarians full time. They're going through every paper, every magazine around the country, clipping things, putting them in folders. You could go check. You didn't have the internet to check this shit, right? They also had all these pictures, and I stole a picture of Harry Carey um, in the broadcast booth, just in his boxers because it was so hot. And I brought it with me to ESPN, and then I had it in my house. And at one point, I made it my Twitter avatar. And I was editor in chief of ESPN the magazine, and we did an issue where we had Kobe Bryant and Nicki Minaj on the cover. And Nicki Minaj, and like you're on set with the athletes and the celebrities, you're not giving them like the right of refusal on a picture, but you're showing them the pictures as they go. So like if there's something they truly hate, we're not going to run it. Like they're not going to see what the final image is, but they're going to feel comfortable that I'm only seeing images that they've at least feel comfortable with. So we do the cover, and Nicki Minaj hates the way her forehead looks. And so like people are going after ESPN the magazine. So it gets to the point where I have to put out a statement about us not photoshopping Nicki Minaj's forehead in the issue. So I put out a statement. We're so thrilled Miss Minaj would do the cover with us. It's really important. She's an icon. Um, but the forehead she walked in with is the one that is on the cover. We don't Photoshop covers. And all of a sudden, my Twitter DMs start blowing up. And people are saying, who's this dude? Why is he so fucking old? Why does he have man boobs? He shouldn't be anywhere with his shirt off. And I'm like, what are they talking about? Where have they seen pictures of me? And then I realize my avatar is Harry Carey with his shirt off, and Nicki Minaj fans don't know who Harry Carey is. So they think I'm Harry Carey and that I'm the one in the picture with my shirt off.
Oh man. Well, if we're going homer, before we move topics, I'll have to throw John Kruk down. If I'm going one homer pick, I'll go with John Kruk. I mean, like you just said, if you have a good baseball storyteller, it's the perfect sport. It's just on the background. You don't even need to watch. And yeah, John Kruk right now, Philadelphia is by far the best going.
Uh, Football question. Fresh start on a minimum contract. Would you rather have Zach Wilson, age 24, or Joe Flacco, age 39?
I would definitely go Zach Wilson, even though I think he's broken and I have zero faith. There's going to be upside there. Like the kid's got a great arm. He's got some athleticism to him. It just, to me, seems like it's all mental. And, Joe Flacco, we love him, but let's not get it twisted, right? Like he's going to be an up and down quarterback. He is what you just said, 39 years old. So, yeah, it's a crazy question. I love that somebody asked it, but yeah, I'll go with youth and upside over than a 39-year-old that I think, I mean, last year was lightning in a bottle. I don't know if you can ever capture that again, but I believe he's on the Colts. So, you know, him and Shane Steichen, you never know. You never know.
Uh, I would need to know more about the parameters. Am I thinking for a year or am I thinking for multiple years? If it's multiple years, Zach Wilson. If it's 1 year,
Yeah, that's
I'm taking
fair.
Joe Flacco
That's fair.
because I've seen him do it often enough in high pressure situations with the right coaching and
Yeah.
understanding his own limits that if you need Joe Flacco to go in and win you 2 or 3 games, I would find value on that. I don't think any of us would find value in Zach Wilson. I believe he is broken. I think he's been broken since the day he entered the league. He was never as good as anybody thought he was going to be. You and I believed he was a terrible choice and that at BYU, he got by playing inferior competition with a superior offensive line and a wicked good arm, but you're not making difficult throws when you're playing BYU behind and a line with NFL caliber offensive linemen. So Joe Flacco, or as Bob Scucci likes to say, battered Flacco is the choice.
There you go.
NFL Hall of Famer Larry Allen passed away tragically, 52 years old, titanically strong, infamously nasty on the field. Many experts have called him the greatest offensive lineman of all time. Are there any current offensive linemen who will end up deserving similar accolades in 10 or 20 years? I have someone very specific in mind.
Yeah, and just to piggyback on Larry Allen, saw a really funny story about when they were going to run the ball, he would start going, choo, choo, the train's coming. And I can't imagine how scary that must have been on the other side, that he was telling you what was coming and you knew you couldn't stop it. Um, for me, I'll go Jason Peters, the bodyguard. Like, the man came in the league as a tight end, got moved to tackle, and the rest is history. I mean, one of the best trades the Eagles ever made. He was just incredible in every sense. Even the year we won the Super Bowl, he wasn't playing. You know, Brandon Brooks, Lane Johnson talked about how he was just with them every day, talking technique, trying to help them out, like just a consummate pro. So, yeah, if I'm thinking of freaks like that, I mean, obviously, you know, Larry Allen's famous for bench pressing 700 pounds. I don't think that guy exists in the league anymore. I mean, that's country strong, but yeah, I'll go Jason Peters.
I'm surprised you didn't go with Trent Williams.
I love Trent. I do. He never played for me, so I'm a little biased.
I mean, Trent Williams to me, he he's the sort of cornerstone, almost, in the most figurative way to what has been the most consistently awesome offense. He did it in Washington. He's done it in San Francisco. It is a team that is so different when he's not playing. You hear from everybody. You see in the stats how well he can protect, but also what an incredible run blocker is, how he can pick up blocks downfield. Like this guy to me, he's obviously a surefire Hall of Famer. And it's the one thing, like I think the Niners every year are going in, please give us one more year. Please give us one more year. Please give us one more year. If you were to pull players, I bet they would all say Trent Williams, easily the top tackle in the NFL.
Eh, I don't know. I would say he's really good, but he's not as great as you think he is. He gets beat. He does get beat. So I agree, though. He is incredible run blocking tackle, but you know, these pass rushers, they get him. He gets beat. And like you can't say the same about Peters, man. The dude was incredible. If we go back and look at the stats. So I say recency bias. Chad's falling into the recency bias.
It's possible. It's possible. I'm thinking about last year
You
when,
love that 49ers team. God damn, do you love them?
dude, when they went in that 0-3 hole and they weren't playing with Trent Williams
Yeah.
and Debo, and then all of a sudden, like
Now that
they
was an
came
amazing
back,
stat Evan had, right? They were like a
yeah,
totally different team without him.
a different freaking team. Okay, you just mentioned Tony Romo. Which NFL quarterback from the 1990s would achieve even more in today's NFL? Brett Favre, Troy Aikman, Warren Moon, Kerry Collins, Jeff George.
I'll go Warren Moon. Just he dealt with racism and a lot of bullshit that he would never have to deal with nowadays. And he was so ahead of his time for what he was, right? Like a lot of people say the same thing about Randall Cunningham. I think Warren Moon was better than Randall Cunningham, to be honest with you. So, yeah, Warren Moon got such a raw deal. He would be perfect for this NFL. Like everything he does well, the big arm, the athleticism. I mean, Anthony Richardson's a freak. We all agree, right? Warren Moon was kind of built like that. He was so big, so strong. Yeah, just thinking about him, it would have been crazy to see Warren Moon playing nowadays, right? That's just again perfect name too. Got a great name. I would have loved to see him playing in the league nowadays.
Yeah, it's so interesting you say that because that was going to be my first instinct too. Like his ability to throw the ball and the stats he racked up, even before like the NFL was what it is today, where it's so passer friendly. I mean, he
Yeah,
was truly prolific as a thrower. But then I think about Brett Favre was prolific and playing in that era. Could he have won even more Super Bowls,
he would
right?
have been
Like,
Jameis Winston.
yeah, that's right.
Like in another world, he would have been Jameis Winston. Honestly, he luckily he was on a team filled with Hall of Fame coaches, right? Andy Reid was his QB coach, like Holmgren, all of it, like that whole thing. Marriott, like
Mariucci.
Mariucci, yeah, like they had so much good coaching on that team. But I love where you're coming from too, because I mean, Brett Favre, he was what one of the most exciting, fun players to watch, and a guy we're talking about Flacco here at 39, like that's what Brett Favre was, right? On that crazy run with the Vikings, he was an old man still doing it. So I can see where you're coming from. Brett Favre would be really fun to watch in this day and age.
So Troy Aikman, though, take Kerry Collins off the list. Like Kerry Collins was a lucky circumstance, right place, right time, right team moment. Um, Troy Aikman, famously not the guy who put up amazing numbers. The team was built around defense. The team was built around Emmett Smith. The team was built around Larry Allen and that offensive line, Nate Newton, right? In this era, with offense being much more wide open, does Troy Aikman pile up even more stats and the Cowboys win as many Super Bowls as they won?
No, I mean, they had a Hall of Fame fullback, Hall of Fame running back. You just talked about Hall of Fame offensive lineman, and then a Hall of Famer on the outside. And they had a bunch of guys on defense that were great players as well. It was just, and not even that, you mix in that they kept playing Buffalo. It was just a perfect time for the Cowboys that they kept, them and the Giants. They got a couple of rings off that Buffalo team that's like, that changes history, right? That gives the Giants a really rich history, and the same with the Cowboys. So Troy Aikman couldn't have timed it any better for his skill set, what he did so well. And another guy who the NFL chewed him up and spit him out. I mean, you go back and watch the hits he took in college
Yeah.
before he even got to the league, he was already on his way out. His body had just been so beat up. And those were back in the day where, like, you tear something in your shoulder, they just give you a shot. Like, they're not giving you surgery, right? They're going to be like, no, you got to finish this season kind of deal back then. So, Troy, I always joke, I think he's one of the most overrated quarterbacks ever, but I think for that era, he was so perfect because he was a good quarterback, a good game manager, and he didn't need the accolades, right? Like he just never seemed, even nowadays, like he doesn't seem like he's got that type of ego where, some of their guys probably wouldn't have dealt with that great, where he knows he's a punching bag, right? Like everyone talks about Emmett Smith, like that's the guy from that team. So now he's the perfect quarterback in that perfect era. He would be, in my opinion, I wouldn't even say he'd be like a Minshew. I think he'd be worse than Minshew in this era. Like at least Minshew can get
Oh,
around and move.
come
I
on.
know you think I'm a hater, dude, but I
That
just
is
think
absurd.
I think that's how much harder and better it is nowadays to play. Like you have to be so much more athletic and smarter than you were in the 90s. Like, dude, the 90s literally ran two defenses. It's a joke. Like you go back, sports used to be so dumb, where now it's so advanced. So I get where you're coming from. I can't wrap my head around Troy Aikman succeeding in this league. I probably would have a fifth or sixth round grade on him.
The Troy Aikman comp is Brock Purdy.
Fuck no, dude. Brock Purdy's a good athlete. Like, I don't know. Well, I know I'm coming off as a huge hater right now. When I think of him, it's just like, oh man. I can't see him working out. Like he doesn't have the tools. But again, that was your era. I could be way off here. I just can't see it.
Yeah. I actually, that was my era. I covered that Cowboys team often. Um, you couldn't be more off on Troy Aikman. Do you care about the Summer Olympics? And what is your favorite part?
Yeah, I like the Summer Olympics. I mean, as a man, my favorite thing to watch is definitely the volleyball. If I'm women's volleyball, preferably. For sport wise, um, I don't know. It's tough. Is table tennis summer? Because I do love the
Yeah.
table tennis.
Yeah.
Like I like all the stupid stuff, but at the end of the day, it's gonna be track and field. Like the fastest man in the world. That whole Usain Bolt thing too. I was so caught up to that. The swimming, Michael Phelps. So definitely those type of sports I just get all in on.
Love the Summer Olympics. I think it's I think the pageantry is amazing. The sport that I've covered two Summer Olympics. Um, and one year, I don't know if I've told this story. Matt Mitchell might yell at me if I start telling it again. Have I told the story about covering the uh, Atlanta Olympics and the bombing? So 96, I'm working for Sports Illustrated. Sports Illustrated goes down and they're one of the Olympic sponsors. And we decided we're going to put out a daily magazine. So there's a staff of us that are covering sports during the day, writing about them, and like publishing the magazine at 1 o'clock in the morning. And it's being distributed throughout throughout Atlanta that next day, right? Full coverage of the Olympics, SI quality, SI form, SI magazine. And so I'm in the media center, which overlooks Centennial Park, and it's nearly deadline. And there's this massive boom. Like you hear it, you feel it, you see light, and nobody knows what it is at the time. I'm thinking to myself, that's weird. We all knew what the weather was supposed to be every day. There's no rain forecast for today. And so then I start to walk out of our sort of newsroom into the main media center. And in my head, I'm really going to look over Centennial Park. At this point, there's like, people buzzing that something had happened in Centennial Park. So I'm leaving the newsroom to go to the cafeteria that overlooks Centennial Park and get to like be a gawker through the windows. The editor of the magazine looks at me and says, Chad, great idea. Take this cell phone, which is like a brick at this time. Take this cell phone. When you get into the park, call us back with the news of what's happening on the ground. I'll tell you right now, I had no intention of going to the park. I had no intention of leaving the media center. But because I happened to be the first one to walk out so I could go gawk at what was happening in the park, through the safety of the windows of the media center, the editor handed me a phone. I go downstairs. I'm at the park. I'm walking by what happens to be my hotel, which is right on the edge of the park. And I see a guy and his knee is busted wide open. And so like I sort of pull him into the hotel lobby. And of course, I'm going to interview him, but the cell phone at this point isn't working. And I want to call back to the newsroom to give an update to my editor. And so I have to go use a payphone. And when I'm using the payphone, I'm done with the call. I turn back around and all of the media is surrounding this dude in an informal press conference because I brought him back into the lobby of the fucking media hotel. So I lost my scoop. And for the next decade, I see this guy's face in the middle of the This Is CNN promos as like an action shot of him being interviewed after the bombing in Centennial Park. That's my Olympic story. Today, it's like old home week. I got all the stories from like the last 20, 30 years.
No, that's amazing the story though. That's crazy.
Um, uh, but weightlifting is an amazing sport to attend an event. The intensity, the anxiety, the one moment these athletes have, they're in the dark for 4 years. They get one chance to do this. It is it raises your heart rate. It is so gut wrenching to watch. Fucking love it. Love the weightlifting stuff. It's so good. So good. As well as the swimming and the gymnastics and the
All
track.
of
It's
it,
all
yeah. Like even the wrestling, the boxing, all of it. I mean, it's just if you ever get the chance to go experience it, I definitely believe go to the Olympics. Even if you're seeing some random game, it's all awesome.
it's truly it's magical. Um, all right, let's see. We went through interesting. Which one? If your co-host was a potato, how would he be prepared?
Oh man, this is about to get this is too sexual. I can't even think of anything to say that doesn't sound weird. Because I was just saying, I don't know, I'd stuff you. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how to answer this one, Chad.
Uh, I mean, you'd be
Maybe.
rotten.
I was gonna
Lay
say
on the cheese,
I like the devil's lettuce, so I guess I'd be a baked potato. Ha ha
a lot
ha.
of flavor. I think it'd be fantastic. Um, okay, let's see if we got time for one more. Um, oh, okay, here's one. We had Seth Rollins on the podcast
Yeah.
before WrestleMania. We had that in early April. Someone said that was surprisingly fun. Thank you for the backhanded compliment. Even though he isn't a pro sports figure in the classical definition, who are some non-sports figures we both love to interview on the show? Non-sports figures we'd love to interview on the show. This is a tough one.
It's as easy for me. If you know, I love comedy. It's every day I'm like, how do I get out of bed today, Chad? You know what I say to myself? To watch some comedy. That's what I'm getting up to go watch today. So it's everything. Like anytime I'm down, I know a lot of people like music that brings them out of their funk. For me, it's comedy. So anytime Chad wants to have a comedian on here, I would love it. But you know, the comedians that do sports bet, not many of them talk about it. So the couple we do know about, we definitely will try to get them on here eventually. But yeah, my number one, if he still listens, Daniel Tosh, dude, come on here. We'll talk Miami football, whatever you want. I mean, me and Chad will say Tua is the greatest quarterback ever if that gets you on here. Just any comedian that sports bet, I would love it. Because even talking about Ron's, like you could see he was a really diehard Bears fan, and that's what me and Chad like. We don't have to talk to just football experts. We talk to fans. It's just as fun, right? Like at the end of the day, that's what all of us are. It doesn't matter if you're the greatest expert in the world. You're going to be a fan at the end of the day. So yeah, like I would go comedy if we're gonna next person I'd want on.
It's interesting that, my lean was entertainer as well, but I feel like I think Alfred Hitchcock would be really interesting,
Yeah,
wouldn't he?
can't go wrong with that one.
You can't go wrong with that one. I wouldn't mind Bono. Bono would be great. I'd love to have Bono on the show.
No, you wouldn't.
Why not? You
He's
kidding me?
pretentious asshole, isn't he?
Fuck that. I think he's so much more self-aware now.
I hope that's
Um,
true.
I think he jokes about sort of his
Putting his album on all of our iPhones.
like about his ego and his God complex. And I think he totally makes fun of all that. But
That makes me happy.
I like the idea of Hitchcock because he so revolutionized a genre and would have the best freaking stories to tell about Hollywood that like at a time where I feel like everything went in a way that it doesn't today. And like that was a ribald time.
Oh yeah.
My wife would say comedy too. Whenever my wife is in a bad mood, uh, she she watches stand-up comedy all the time. It's her favorite thing. And but whenever she's in a bad mood, she watches Justin Timberlake, Andy Samberg, Dick in the box.
uh,
Like, I can't tell you how many times I've walked in and heard watching that and just laughing, and it puts it in a much better
you
mood.
just made me think of I saw a great before we go, one last joke. I saw a roast and Andy Samberg was there. And the comedian said, I can't wait for Lauren Michaels' open casket funeral so Andy Samberg and Justin Timberlake can sing Dick in the Box one more time.
That's good.
It was so
I like
good.
it.
Nikki Glazer.
Oh, she's great. Let's get
She's
Nikki
so good.
Glazer on the show.
I would love it. She's so damn smart and funny.
Oh my God, she's fantastic. As a reminder, the Favorites Pod is presented by Bet365. Bet365 doesn't do ordinary. That's why you get more boosts with them than with anyone else. Every day they prop up the odds on hundreds of bets to give you a chance to win more. Bet365 boosts specific markets, your winnings, and even parlays. And they don't stop there. Keep an eye out for their biggest and best odds with the incredible super boosts. Check out the boost and see why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older and present in Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Iowa, Louisiana, North Carolina, New Jersey, Ohio, Virginia, or 18 and older in Kentucky. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa. Terms, conditions, restrictions apply. Simon and I will return with our next episode of The Favorites on the Action Network YouTube page on Tuesday. Download us from Spotify, Apple Pods, wherever you get your pods. Rate, review, subscribe, leave us 5 stars. Say whatever you want. Feedback is a gift. Until next time, love you.